Here's the second and last Black Widow variant in this game. It's kind of amazing that Black Widow only has 2 variants, considering that some other Avengers have upwards of 10 or more. But it's also not surprising because Black Widow doesn't really change her appearance all that much, at least not at this point in the MCU. But look at this variant. Isn't this variant way more accurate to Black Widow than the other one? I mean, I'm pretty sure the hairpiece she has was specifically designed for her, and well, I guess the hair would be the only thing with Black Widow that would cause any trouble when translating into minifigure form. Anyway, both Black Widow variants have the same 5 abilities, and she's basically a better Nick Fury. Just like him, she has stealth, technology, and shield, but she also has scan, which Nick Fury should have had but didn't. And lastly, and also leastly, she has agility, which should come as no surprise. And look at that, the main villain of the first Avengers movie, and also a character that's more developed than a good chunk of the Avengers today. It's Loki, the God of Mischief. Loki has 3 variants in this game with 5 abilities, so I'll chip away at those abilities over the course of the next 3 segments. The first variant is the no helmet variant. I put this variant down as the least of the 3 because his helmet is like his main thing, and he just doesn't look complete without it. But onto his first chunk of abilities. I'll just cover one, which is the backup ability. Duplication is one of Loki's favorite powers that he uses at his disposal basically all the time. In fact, in the Loki boss fight in the Shakespeare in the Park level, most of the fight was spent punching fake Lokis to find the real one. In the last level of the campaign, Earth's Mightiest, you must use Avengers Tower's camera to find the real Loki out of the bunch that show up. So yeah, duplication is a thing with Loki, and that's reflected in the game with the backup ability. Loki summons 2 more Lokis to fight alongside him. A lot of the time, the backup ability is used pretty creatively, whether it's Loki duplications or after images of Quicksilver or whatever. The second variant of Loki has him in a suit, which he wore for like a scene, maybe 2. But unfortunately, Loki is still not wearing his iconic helmet, but it wouldn't look good with a suit anyway, so it works out. The second batch of abilities that all Lokis possess have to do with how he's the God of Mischief. Well, his backup ability from his powers of duplication can be chalked up to the fact that he's a mischief god, but these next 2 are abilities that are more associated with the magic side of Marvel in this game. Those 2 abilities are telekinesis and mind control. Now, Loki has the Mind Stone in his scepter, which allowed for him to take over the mind of Hawkeye and several others, so Loki having the mind control ability kind of goes without saying. As for telekinesis, that's a power Loki has displayed several times throughout his many appearances, so I'm not going to question it. Here's the last variant of Loki, and also the only one with his horned helmet. Like I hinted at the past 2 segments, that helmet is the sole basis for being ranked as the best variant in my opinion. Without it, it just seems like there's something missing. Maybe that's why I had a few qualms with the Loki show. No, the lack of helmet wasn't the reason why I had issues with the show. But hey, voicing my opinion on the Loki show will probably net me some more backlash, so I won't get too much into it. Anyway, so far we've covered 3 of Loki's 5 abilities: backup, mind control, and telekinesis. The final 2 abilities that Loki possesses has to do with his frost giant origin. Hold down the action button and Loki pulls out one of those ice boxes, turns into a member of the Blue Man group, and sprays out an ice beam. With that, he has the ice ability. The ice ability is hard to come by, but it's mainly in this game because of Loki. A lot of the Avengers have special abilities that were clearly designed for them, like Captain America's shield switch, Scarlet Witch's telekinesis, Quicksilver's speed, and Loki's ice ability here. Finally, that ice beam also comes with the extinguish ability, so he can ice down fires instead of leaping onto them like characters with shields. Next up, we have a villain who came from the Black Panther DLC, Man-Ape, or as we know him from the MCU, Mbaku. Now, Mbaku was more so a rival of Black Panther in the 2018 film, and then turned to an ally by the end of it, with Mbaku even saving T'Challa's life. But this version in the game is based on the comic book counterpart where Mbaku is a giant Hulk-sized dude. We're entering a stage in the list where we're going to see a bunch of giant dudes like this, all with similar abilities, if not the exact same. Kind of like that instance a while ago where like 7 female characters in a row all had the same exact 4 abilities, even if they didn't make sense. We're going to go through that again with these big fellas. Now, Mbaku, as I mentioned, first appeared in the Black Panther film in the MCU, meaning that this guy is going on the MCU edition list. Anyway, Mbaku here is dressed in a white gorilla suit with his face popping out of the mouth and has quite a few big boy abilities, so strength and cracked wall is a given. Mbaku also has super jump and wall climb, and finally immunity from fire and toxins. So who's this guy named Ravage? He looks like some kind of hillbilly Hulk? Prospector Hulk, perhaps? I don't know, but apparently he's an enemy of the Hulk. Ravage was once a mentor of Bruce Banner and hoped to cure himself of this disease he had by transfusing Banner's blood with his own. Because blood transfusions in comic books always seem to work out. Anyway, the result of that is what you see in front of you. Well, the Hulk part, not the Lego part. Ravage only appeared in 4 issues and then never again. I was pretty shocked to see someone with such a naked wiki page make it into this game. But does Ravage bring any flair besides a Hulk-like being with a neckbeard? Surprisingly, no. Ravage has all the same abilities as Mbaku: fire and toxin immunity, super jump, strength, crack wall, and wall climbing. Curse here, with a K, was the giant swole half Lord of the Rings, half Dark Souls looking guy that followed Malekith around in Thor the Dark World. He was even a boss fight in the Lost in the Aether level, the level that was adapted from the second Thor film. Well, kind of. He threw things at you that could conveniently be used against him only for you to defeat him by mashing a button. But button bashing is the case for most boss fights in this game, so Curse is a big boy and possesses all of the same abilities the last 2 big boys had, which are fire and toxin immunity, super jump, strength, crack wall, and wall climbing. While it's lame that all these guys have the same abilities, it honestly can't be helped. The developers kind of designed their way into a hole, since most of the abilities in this game require a character that's normal sized. There is a big boy character in mind that I can't say yet because we haven't seen him, but this specific character has a few abilities, but he's so big that these abilities only work some of the time. So while these characters all have the same abilities, there's not much that TT Games can do about it besides a giant overhaul of the game's mechanics, which, let's be honest, they wouldn't do. Well, that name isn't subtle. In case you couldn't figure out by this guy's motive in Marvel, it's to kill the Hulk, I guess. Well, this guy is even more niche than Ravage. Ravage showed up in 4 issues of Hulk comics. Hulk Killer here only showed up in 2. And in one of them, it was just like a cameo. He is an artificial being created by a certain Hulk villain we haven't seen yet, which we'll see in 2 segments from now, so I guess keep watching for a few more minutes to find out who that is. Anyway, Hulk Killer is basically a bald red Hulk. I guess that's the best they could do. They didn't have much to work with, to be fair. This is the only image on his wiki page. First of all, he's pink, and second of all, third of all. But as you might suspect, Hulk Killer has the same 5 abilities as Curse, Ravage, and Mbaku. I'm not even going to name them off because I'm sick of copying and pasting these abilities in the script. But yeah, probably one of the most least used Marvel characters somehow got into this game. This is the 3rd Hulk villain we're covering in this part alone, and it just happens to be the most notable Hulk villain. If you haven't noticed, like 90% of Hulk's villains are just big boys like him, just in a different color, or having facial hair, or having a few extra veins here and there. But Abomination was the main villain of the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, and the first character everyone names if someone were to point a gun to your head and demand for you to name as many Hulk villains as you can. Speaking from experience, of course. He doesn't really have any bearing on the story for this game, just an unlockable character token in one of the levels. But like I've insinuated from the past few segments, Abomination has the same exact abilities as the fellows we've covered in the past few segments. Luckily for us though, the reign of the big boys will end after this segment. Well, for now, at least. Remember when I said the Hulk Killer was created by a guy we'll see in 2 segments? Well, 2 segments later, and the leader is here. Yet another Hulk villain. Trust me, all these Hulk villains in the one part were all coincidences, I swear. But yeah, leader created Hulk Killer, but never got around to unleashing him. It was yet another Hulk villain who we haven't seen yet, who found Leader's abandoned laboratory and set Hulk Killer free. Hulk defeated Hulk Killer, and that's all we ever saw about Hulk Killer. But yeah, this is a Leader segment, not another Hulk Killer one. So let's talk about Marvel's version of Brainiac. Leader was actually in the MCU in the 2008 Incredible Hulk film. They hinted at him being Leader, and even hinted at his enlarged head, but it's been 14 years and nothing has come of it. I mean, even Abomination got an appearance in Shang-Chi being trained by Wong or whatever that was. But, I mean, there are some needed answers for that. But Leader in this game is exactly what I said, Marvel's Brainiac. He has technology scan and repair, just like every smart person, but he also has telekinesis and mind control. I thought Leader was just a smart green guy with no paranormal powers, but there have been instances in the comics that support his abilities of controlling things with his mind, so I'm not going to argue Leader's abilities in this game.